Scotia, so I often feel I have a unique perspective on the goings-on in classrooms. As a school psychologist, I have an ethical obligation to support the mental health and well-being of the students I serve, and by extension, the classroom teachers who are entrusted with their care every day. I wonder if the Liberal government has considered the further-reaching implications of continuously expressing their dismay and disappointment towards teachers who have rejected 3 contracts because at their very core, those teachers knew it was not in the best interest of their students. Teachers knew these contracts did not address the issues that exist due to the underfunding of supports in schools and the little consideration that appears to be given for classroom composition. I ask how the Liberal members think their own mental health would be impacted if they felt that their hands were tied and they had lost virtually any autonomy in their profession. How might anyone feel knowing that their employer demonstrated such little regard and respect for their profession and their professional judgment? Might one feel defeated, angry, anxious? Let's go with anxious. Allow me to offer the members a quick psychology lesson. When humans feel anxious, our limbic system set off a kind of alarm that alerts us to danger, and we respond with either fight, flight, or freeze. When this happens, the functioning in our prefrontal cortex pretty much shuts off. Our prefrontal cortex is responsible for empathy, problem solving, working memory, emotional regulation, language processing, the ability to plan, organize, and reason, essentially all of our executive functioning. How effective can our classroom teachers be when their alarms are constantly ringing? Similarly, how much learning can take place when students are in an environment that constantly triggers their little alarms? I will go to bat for additional funding for classroom teachers any day of the week, but I also feel the need to stand up for our many student services specialists, psychologists, speech-language pathologists, behavior specialists, social workers, autism specialists, as our working conditions are often overlooked as well. As a school psychologist, my services include conducting psychoeducational and behavioral assessments, individual and group counseling and consultation services. The Canadian Psychological Association recommends a ratio of 1 psychologist performing these above-mentioned duties to 750 students. The Nova Scotia Department of Education and Early Childhood Development recommends a ratio of 1 psychologist for every 2,500 students. This year, my circuit has included service to 7 schools with a total student population of 3,297. I have exceeded the province's expected ratio by almost 800 students and the Canadian Psychological Association's total by over 2,000. Knowing that mental health issues are on the rise and plague approximately 20% of the population, the provincially mandated ratio results in having a caseload that is often unmanageable and significantly hinders my ability to provide comprehensive mental health services to schools. Part of every assessment I complete includes doing classroom observations. I will tuck myself in a corner and watch the natural unfoldings of classroom activities with a specific focus on how my student fits into that world. My observations last anywhere from 45 minutes to 3 to 4 hours. And in those times, I see amazing things. I see teachers' faces light up when their students suddenly get it. I see teachers act like a chameleon to engage students with varying personalities. I see teachers use truly innovative practices to engage students in learning. In those times, I also see heartbreaking things. I see the receipts showing the hundreds of dollars teachers have spent out of pocket to ensure a fun and engaging learning environment. I see teachers pull from their own lunches to feed a hungry child. I see them spend hours fighting with systems like PowerSchool and TiNet so they can input exorbitant amounts of data. I see them trying to effectively teach multiple curricula because they have multiple students who require IPPs, program adaptations, behavior plans, the list goes on.
1 minute.
Thank you. I see them struggle to provide the best education they possibly can, but are hindered by having to be all things to all students at all times. I see the look of relief on their faces when I walk into the classroom. Whew. The psychologist is here. Maybe now we can get some supports in place for little Johnny. And I try. I try so hard to support the amazing teachers I work with, but I am bound to provide them with evidence-based recommendations. So when I develop a plan that focuses on consistent positive reinforcement of desirable behaviors to reduce the frequency of maladaptive behaviors of a child with severe behavior challenges, often secondary to mental health issues, I'm creating more work for that teacher. That plan is often a band-aid for the proverbial bullet hole. When I conduct a comprehensive psych ed assessment to help shed light on why a student has been struggling for so long, I see the light bulb turn on for that teacher. He has a learning disability with processing deficits and working memory. Of course, it makes so much sense.
That's time, but you can continue.
Thank you. Then come my recommendations to support that student's learning profile, and I see the light leave the teacher's eyes. My recommendations mean another set of program adaptations to document, implement, and monitor for the continued success of that student, and then it repeats for my next referral, and the next, and the next. The current education system is not working, plain and simple. The idea of inclusive education is lovely in theory, but dangerous without the proper funding for its proper implementation. Inclusive education means appropriate differentiated instruction in the classroom carried out by multiple teaching professionals or paraprofessionals to ensure students are receiving dedicated teaching time that is tailored to their learning abilities. That's not what's happening in Nova Scotia. While I'm frustrated with the current situation, I'm not without insight. I understand having a finite amount of money to work with puts the government in a precarious situation. Having said that, I wouldn't be able to afford $20,000 out of pocket if my roof collapsed, but I would sure have to find that money to fix it to make sure that my family remains safe and healthy. I would strongly encourage the government to adopt this perspective when investing in education. The solution is not easy or inexpensive, but I promise it is worth it. I understand the toxicity that exists right now between the province and the NSTU, but I implore the Liberal government to truly consider the gravity of forcing legislation on this province's dedicated education staff. I urge the Liberal government to shelve this bill and return to the bargaining table. If we all remember that there is a little bit of each of us in all of us, I think you would be truly amazed at what can be accomplished. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Ms. Zan, you had a question from the last.
Yes, thank you very much. Thank you so much. So did you say that it was one psychologist for every 2,500?
That's the province's recommended ratio.
Right, and one for every 500 is
the Canadian Psychological Association's recommended ratio of psychologists working with high-need students performing or doing psych ed assessments, behavior assessments, single individual counseling, and group counseling.
That from P to 12 or for just the younger students?
From P to 12.
And so, in your opinion, how many do you think, what do you think the ratio would be best here in Nova Scotia?
I would have to take the page from the Canadian Psychological Association. One psychologist for every 500 to 750. Still wouldn't, and
it's still a lot, isn't it?
It's still a lot, but that would be one of my schools. If I could be at one of my schools 5 days a week, I could help with mindfulness practices throughout the school. I could do individual counseling on a daily or every other day basis. I could do groups, and I think we would see the incidence of behavior issues in the classroom significantly reduce, which would free up teachers' time to teach the public school curriculum.
I have to agree with you.
Mr. Houston.
Thank you.
Actually, that's exactly what I was going to ask.
Mr. D'Entremont, then. Mr. Houston?
We'll chat later, Tim.
Mr. Houston.
If your ratio is 1 to 3,297, is that consistent with your colleagues around the province?
It's not uncommon. One of my best friends and colleagues has a ratio. She is one psychologist for 3,155. Wow. 3,115, sorry. I exaggerated there a little.
This is the place for exaggeration.
Thank you. 1.5 minutes, Mr. D'Entremont.
I'm just wondering, what kind of wait list do you have to sort of manage? How long does it take to see you?
It's not uncommon. So there's a process to go through where a student has to be referred to the school planning team. The team discusses the best avenue for that student. It's not uncommon for me to finally get to a student's psych ed assessment after they've been on the list for 3 years. And counseling often doesn't get referred to me because I spend so much time assessing. So I have limited time to do group and individual counseling, which is really what I'd love to do.
Thank you, Ms. Boucher.
Thank you.
Good presentation. Paul Wozni. Welcome, sir.